Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Anna from Astral Tarot. Today I'm doing a video on the list of the decks that I want to cull, meaning get rid of. Get them out of my collection. So, have I culled them or have I not? Why? Also, last time I forgot some decks that were on my wish list that I actually put on my wish list, seriously considered getting. That was last week's topic. And so we're going to go through those as well. The list of what decks I want to cull hasn't been updated in at least a year. So if you want to see the decks that I'm currently culling, like newer decks that I'm culling, here's the video so you can watch it. Things get expensive really quickly these days. I have some big projects going on, so just throwing it out there, my goal is to sell these decks. Here is the old list of decks I wanted to cull because I think it's interesting to discuss why a deck maybe stopped working for us. Why does a deck stop working for a reader? Whether you're just doing it for yourself, doing it for friends, family, doing it professionally like I do, but I still do readings for myself as well. So why does a deck maybe work at first and then along the way kind of stops working its magic on you? But first, a little bit of a complete segue. I just want to put that out there. I guess this is the theme of today, just putting things out there. I saw this random video of a girl on Instagram, I think at least 4 months ago now, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. As a person who is doing spiritual work as part of their profession, I think it's actually important that I talk about this or just at least mention it at least once. This is going to be it, I think. This girl was describing a mentor that was basically, you could say, auditioning for gathering his students, and the challenge that all of those students were, supposed to do was drink a lot of water. I forgot the amount. Drink a lot of water every day for a whole week, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Actually, of course, we all know this. Drinking a lot of water is good for you. It makes your skin glow, it's just, we need it. So the challenge in itself looks like a healthy thing to do. Now, the girl looked so proud of herself because apparently, in a way it's good, she was the only one out of a group who actually completed the challenge. She said, coming back to the teacher, it was very uncomfortable. I had to go to the bathroom several times a day. It was very inconvenient, but I feel all right and I feel good that I did it and I finished it. And the mentor was so happy that she did. She kind of got into whatever program it was for. This was just a test of personality, he said. All the other appliers had, as he put it, excuses to not finish this challenge. And I didn't really know immediately why this bothered me, but now I know and I'm here to share it before the video that is about completely something else, I know. But the reason this bothered me is because, oh my God, this is such a perfect recipe for grooming. Pro tip, if you want to groom someone, check out if they will just simply obey any task without questioning it and just blindly follow you. You know what I mean? I don't want to throw shade or whatever at this girl. I don't know her. I don't even remember what she looked like and what the context really was. But just as a separate thing, think about this, man. How quickly this can turn into something really dangerous and unhealthy. Because it's got brainwashing and grooming all over it. This in itself seems benign, right? Because we're just drinking a lot of water. It's supposed to be good for you. But my question is, why does mentor teacher figure felt the need to audition in this way to test out his students to see who would blindly follow him? Yes, you can put the side of it that's about, oh, they shouldn't be making excuses and just do the task. But if it's uncomfortable and inconvenient and pointless, then what is the next step? You know what I mean? So, being part of the, it's not really a community, but you guys know what I mean, the spiritual sphere, you might say, as a tarot reader, this type of guru, almost cult leadery feel. I mean, I know I'm exaggerating, but it's a small step still. It makes me think, and I I just I don't know. I think that teacher person, whoever they are, really ought to meet a student who actually questions his methods. Tell them that they're not going to do it and why. Just keep your own power. It bothered me, and I know I went on about this for a little too long, but that's what I have to say. So, what do you think of this? I want to know in the comments. Now, let's get back to this video about decks. I got you. It is warm, but hot tea is good in winter and summer. Any tea brand that carries Earl Grey, sponsor me. Let's start with the list. Okay, the first deck I culled was the Alchemical Tarot. This is actually a deck I got on a whim. Yes, it is. That doesn't mean I didn't do my research. Robert and Place, really cool stuff. The deck felt a little bit too masculine for me. Is that weird to say? It's just a feeling. I don't even know what it means really, but the computery art, it will just never really be my thing. There's only one exception, and that is Crow's Magic. And that is old computery art, you know, just bad computer art. Like the very first few websites, that's what they looked like. So, I mean, childhood memories for me, really. Robert and Place, Alchemical Tarot. I am still very interested in alchemy. I love that whole lore and process and all the symbolism that's in there. There's a lot of that in tarot. I mean, the art card, the temperance card, is the art of alchemy, for crying out loud. And it's so interesting and important because as a tarot reader who loves history and all the occult stuff, it is about finding the philosopher's stone, about finding the gold within. You could really, really easily translate the whole Jung's shadow and tarot readers' shadow work process into the alchemical process. Why that deck did not work for me is the aesthetic and just simply the fact that I never read with it. However nice it was as I flipped through it, because no matter the style of artwork, it still immerses you into that world. And you know what? I heard that Lennon, who I consider a friend of mine, wanted that deck, and so I sent it to her. El Gran Tarot Esoterico. Yes, we are just going through this list quickly. There's less to talk about, I guess, or less to show. Okay, this deck I made a whole video about because it is amazing. It's another one of those super, it says so in the title, esoteric decks, and very attractive, very beautiful little tiny deck and beautiful artwork and so much symbolism. But I was unable to read with it because I am stubborn, open-minded and stubborn at the same time. I mean, just own up to it, aren't we all? So the whole switch of the suits and the elements, I cannot work with that. Look, don't tell me it's really in itself a good idea to read, I don't know, the Three of Swords card as an air card and read it in the same way as we would read any other Three of Swords, like for instance from the Rider-Waite-Smith or any other Marseille, when there is clearly so much water and fish, etc. symbolism in the card. Swords are water in that deck and cups are air. I mean, I get it, but it was too much. I'm just not gonna do it. And I'm very sorry for that deck because It is a beauty. And if you can read with it, and if you feel that that is your system, it's like a Picard. Eudes Picard, by the way, it's not Eudes or something. It's a really weird and funny French first name, but it's written this way and it's pronounced Eudes. Eudes Picard. If that is your system, great for you. It just wasn't for me, sadly enough. And it was first edition, the one that I had in my hands. So, I mean, I think, I'm not sure at this point. Anyway, it was a vintage one because that deck is still in print. Yeah, let's talk about that too. The Alchemical Tarot is by Robert M. Place. It's an independently published deck. There's also a big book that does not come with it, so it is more on the expensive side. El Gran Tarot Esoterico is readily available, although I would recommend the vintage version just because, I don't know, it's cool. I like old things. The Pierre Madenier. I also made a whole video about this. And the video already was kind of strange because I never do this. I'm never passive aggressive towards a deck. Look, don't get me wrong, it's a beauty. It's a beauty. And I did have a connection to it historically, funnily enough, or geographically. This was by Yves Renaud, right? Beautiful, beautiful work. Really looks like an old deck. The reason I didn't like it is because when I held it in my hands, I didn't feel that it was special. So the title of the video that I made about it was "What's so special about Pierre Madenier?" That tarot, because of course I didn't know the dude. I wanted to like it. I wanted that deck to be my, what's it called, completely stripped back original Tarot de Marseille in my collection. It was not meant to be, folks. There was, to me, not a lot of special things about it. Although we cannot deny its beauty, especially Tarot de Marseille lovers will recognize that. Instead, I got the Anima Antiqua, which I talked about in last week's video, which I really, really love and actually work with. So as a professional reader, I read with any system really, for myself and for clients. Usually when I read Tarot de Marseille system, I will go to my trusty Triomphe della Luna Paradoxical by Patrick Valenza, but sometimes I just want it to be very clear, sec Marseille, because of course Patrick added a lot of things and changed some things. And I will go to my Anima Antiqua by Lo Scarabeo, one of the 2 Lo Scarabeo decks that I own and love. I culled last year or 2 years ago, time flies, my pretty Druidcraft, because this crazy woman decided I could not decide between 2 Druidcraft, what's it called, like ways of trimming them, which is of course absolutely insane. This is not even close to being my favorite deck. Will you stop bothering me? So why would I have 2? Didn't make any sense. Anyway, I took my time to choose between this almost fully trimmed version where we only see the stone border. So I got rid of the white border and the big ass title on every card. I do still remember which card is which, so no problem there. Also, I have a little bit of a pet peeve of pretty clear Rider-Waite-Smith clones with the full title of the card, especially in the minors. You don't need that. Maybe you need that in the courts, but even the original Pamela Coleman Smith deck just shows this image in the 9 of Swords. You don't have to have these big titles that say 9 of Swords, right? At some point, it's kind of easy to recognize it, even for beginners. Didn't most of us watching this video learn with the Rider-Waite-Smith? We were fine. Anyway, this deck originally comes with a lot of border, a lot of card, and a lot of copyright too. And so the other deck I had, I trimmed the same way but left the titles. And to be honest, that did look good. I had edged the other one in gold, and this one is in this weird blue and green just because I feel this version is especially blue and green in its saturation, in its color palette. Look, the people are kind of green hued. So I definitely kept the ugly version. Why did I send away my beautiful version with people with their skin tone that made sense? The edging and everything, it just looked better. It's because this deck already doesn't feel like me, so it needed to be a little rough around the edges to be part of this tarot collection. That's really what it is. And honestly, having a deck that's very nature based, obviously, like the wildwood, with no words whatsoever, really does make me feel, I don't know, better about the whole thing, better about reading with a deck that doesn't fully resonate with who I am, but I still get to enjoy it a lot. I can't actually explain this, as you can tell. All I'm saying is I enjoy it more this way. So, maybe take a look at your collection if you haven't done that in a while. Maybe we all have the other of this deck, you know what I mean? Maybe we all have a few doubles, backups we call them, that we will never use. So maybe it's nice to let them go and send them to someone who actually wants it and will read with it. I don't know. The empathic oracle. This was so doomed from the beginning. I wanted to love the deck because of the art style. There's just so much wrong with this deck. I'm just gonna cut this a little short and direct you to that video because I talk about why I got rid of the deck, I think. There was just too much about that oracle deck that didn't only not resonate with me, but actually kind of made me on edge. What can I say? Just a little too lovey-dovey, and I just gave up on it because I really, really tried. You were all there for that process. The Oracle of the Radiant Sun, the other oracle in this list. Ah, another one I wanted to love, but just simply didn't understand. I think that is the case for a lot of people, actually. The artwork is beautiful. That's why we get it. And then we kind of just hope we'll get the system and get along with it. But I'm already a tarot reader who does not usually, I don't tend to use astrology knowledge in my readings. I just read the tarot and all the different symbols. And of course, for instance, I know the Emperor is supposed to be Aries, stuff like that I know, but it's not my main focus and my main red thread in how I read and give helpful advice to people. So why I ever thought this oracle, which is all about astrology and the different houses, etc., was going to work for me, I'll never know. I guess again, I just wanted it to work because it's so bloody beautiful. I actually gave that one to Manuela, and as she knows a lot about astrology, I sure hope she's enjoying it. Okay, real quick, at some point, you guys might remember, the Kazanlar Tarot was on this list. I wouldn't say I got yelled at, but I did get a lot of course you can't, but maybe all caps. I did get some people saying, I've been looking for this deck my whole life and you got it and you don't want it. I agree. There was something wrong with me. And I'm still sometimes on the fence about it because it's not an everyday deck and it's not as if it naturally speaks to me in every card, but it is such a beauty and such a treasure, just like Marielle, really. I think those decks are on the same level or spectrum kind of thing, where I know I would regret it so much if I get rid of them and then all of a sudden feel like I would get something out of it. Because what people get out of these decks is very deep, important, life-changing readings I keep hearing. Why would I want to get rid of that? Just because I might not be ready yet. I'm not sure. I'm so unsure about these two decks. So far, really, apart from the Kazanlar and now Marielle somehow made its way onto the list. Wasn't even ever on the list. So far, I got rid of all of these decks, right? So I'm pretty good at culling decks. Makes me feel good because too much of that energy in the home and just creeps up on you. Now there's this last deck that has been on this list to cull for years, and I still own it. I still haven't ever made that step to sell it or gift it or whatever. It is my Mythic Tarot. I don't know what it is about this deck. It's such a storybook to me. The artwork reminds me of drawings from a book I had from my childhood. It's pretty much the same style. And I can't tell you which book, maybe it was several books. Just because the Greek myths at the moment, what can I say? I'm not super into them right now. They will always be kind of important. What do I do? Again, this is one of those vintage decks. This one is much easier to find than Kazanlar and Marielle, first edition. Seriously, what do I do with this? Why do I hold on to this one? Okay, I'm gonna be honest, a part of why I do hold on to some decks longer than others is because they are not mass market, they are no longer in print. All of that counts. You have to keep that stuff into consideration now, or keep it in mind. And so with this one, I think actually it's more of a feeling, because it definitely could be part of my inner child decks. My ultimate inner child deck, I did tarot throwback for the second time this year, is Tarot of a Moon Garden, right? Just because I know for a fact that would have been my favorite deck as a kid. No doubt about it. Just the art style, the whole magical woods, forest, plants, the moon, very prevalent in that deck, and the color palette. Oh, that was just all the frosty things, you know? And I did consider to use this deck as well during Tarot Throwback, but then I didn't because the guidebook is wonderful, but looking at the card, I can't immediately tell which myth we're talking about, which story we're in. That is what bothers me, because I don't really love having to use the guidebook as I read with the deck. That's basically what it is. That's basically what this deck is asking of me. Because I could read it as any other tarot deck, except that we are clearly seeing some myths. Look at how pretty this is. I do want to know who exactly I'm looking at. And I know I would only need to read the book again and then maybe reference it for a bit for it to jog my memory, but maybe I'm not into that idea right now. Okay, let me just tell you, I am culling these 5 babies. These have not sold yet. Ibis Tarot, Tarot de Marrakech, Diva Tarot, and Botanica Oracle, or Tarot Botanica. It's a tarot. And then all neatly packaged, but it came back to my address, is the Tarot de Gulliver. So if anybody wants that one, just know this is a mass market deck, and it's actually quite lovely. It's a Marseille type deck, but doesn't really resonate with me, and I think the shipping from the Netherlands to abroad would already consist of the price of the deck. So if you want it, just order it, and if you're not far, then you can have mine. Just to end this video, I have some more thinking about getting them tarot decks in 2023. I already talked about it in last week's video, but on and off my wish list is Tarot Apocalypsis. It's a chaotic, colorful, ugly mess that could very well inspire. I love decks that are busy. And why Apocalypsis and not the Illuminati Tarot? It's probably because Tarot Illuminati is an exact clone of the Rider-Waite-Smith, if I may say that. And Apocalypsis kind of pushes the boundaries a little bit more, which I do appreciate. Then there's this deck that I almost got, but then I realized I have Crow's Magic. I don't need it. But I wouldn't say no to trying it out. It's the Schritzliste Strogi Tarot. It's gorgeous. It's the stuff of nightmares and the stuff of dreams and the stuff of, you know, fever dreams. It's really cool. I just wish it had a broader color palette. Give me some reds. Okay, and then I don't know if I can say this with a straight face, but something about it attracts me. Witch's Tarot by Burning Paper Hearts. I've been seeing that deck on Owl Moon's channel. Of course, she is super, you know, feminine and refers to her decks as she and her, which is funny to me. I've never seen anybody do that, but you know, it's fine. It's your own practice. By all means. Something about that deck, it's almost good. You know what I mean? Probably not gonna get it, but had it not been Tumblr ladies in the photos, but maybe Tumblr ladies disguised from top to bottom as demons, that would have been beautiful for me. I know this is random, but somebody just make that deck with a lot of darkness and a lot of stuff. I don't like minimalism. I don't like empty space on a tarot card. It's just wasted. I don't like too much light and things that you can actually pinpoint as trends. Anyway, this was my video. I certainly hope you enjoyed. Apart from that, it was meant to be helpful and maybe give you some tips. So that's it for today. You have a lovely weekend and I'll see you next week. Bye.